Mr. RPN Singh was one of those handpicked by Rahul Gandhi to be a part of government, a job he fulfilled admirably. And unlike some of his seniors, Mr. Singh has volunteered and is seeking re-election from his parliamentary constituency, Padrona. RPN, as things stand today, the Congress has a mountain to climb.
Oh, well, if you look at the television channels and if you look at the newspapers, it would seem that the Congress has a mountain to climb, and anyway, elections are a difficult thing. But if you remember, Javed, this is the same situation that we faced in 2009, and it's the same situation we faced in 2004. Everyone had written us off even before the election started. But if you see the ground...
This is a whole lot different than 2009.
Well, it would seem to you, Javed, if you see even a month ago, people were speaking about the BJP romping home easily. Today we have nervousness and panic, if you see in the BJP itself.
How do you say that?
If you see like ad campaigns being changed, you have candidates joining, being changed, thrown out within 5 minutes. So you think that, and the kind of thought process that's behind the BJP is becoming more and more evident to the people of this country.
You know, if you ask the BJP, they say we are a responsive party, we respond, we're quick-witted, unlike our rivals in the grand old party.
Yes, when you make a person like Muthalik join the party, and when hell breaks loose on Twitter and social media, newspaper, women's groups, you just have to react to it. But what it shows a bigger thing, that the mindset of the BJP has become very evident to the people. When you make somebody like Muthalik join the BJP, so obviously there's a thought process behind the BJP. When you have individuals of that level joining the BJP and being tom-tommed in televisions before the general country took over, because the election fever is on, that's why they had to withdraw it. But you come to know that this is the model of development that the BJP is talking about. And that is what we've been telling the people of this country, that the model of development is Muthalik. It is communal violence. It is Muzaffarnagar. That is the thought process of the BJP, which is extremely unfortunate.
Mr. RPN Singh, every time you talk to the BJP, they mention the fact that after 2002, there's not been a single riot in Gujarat, not just Gujarat, but any of the BJP ruled states. And they point to what happened in Rajasthan under Mr. Gehlot's watch. They point to Muzaffarnagar under Mr. Akhilesh Yadav's watch. And you know, they have empirical evidence to prove that minorities in Gujarat appear to be doing much better than their counterparts in the rest of the country.
Well, if you go by figures, if we talk about the model of development of Gujarat, why don't we talk about figures on everything? Why only riots? Let's talk about how much investment has come about in Gujarat. If you look at it, it's not even the top 4 states of this country. The foreign investment that has come into Gujarat, which you talk about, the kind of development that is taking place. Let's see the poverty index in Gujarat. I mean, these are issues, I think, which are getting lost in the larger issues of politics which are being discussed, and we're talking about how one state is going. And you cannot, if you think that kind of development that took place in Delhi, wasn't it better than Gujarat? The Congress party lost in Delhi. In 15 years, the kind of development, you live in Delhi, and people in Delhi, does anybody say that development hasn't taken place in Delhi? In the last 15 years, the kind of development that took place in Delhi is astounding. It is different. It doesn't look as if...
Why do you think people punished you? There must be some reason, no?
You see, it is people, if 15 years is something that people want to change. It was this thing that we want to change, and people you see in Delhi, in the Lok Sabha elections, where the Congress just got 8 MLA seats, the Congress is going to get number of Lok Sabha seats which we didn't get 2 months ago. So you see there's a change in 2 months ago. 2 months ago, the Congress was wiped out in Delhi in the Lok Sabha elections, which the elections are going to take place on the 10th of April. The Congress party is going to do remarkably well.
RPN, you make a good point, but it begs the question, why is this anti-incumbency only against Congress-ruled states and not, say, in Chhattisgarh, not in Madhya Pradesh, not in Gujarat?
Well, we've come back to power in Maharashtra. We have come back to power in Delhi. We were in Delhi for 15 years. We were in power in Delhi for 15 years. So, and we've been in power in the center for 10 years as well as in the states. So people think...
So it's a double whammy again.
It's a double whammy. And what happened, we're talking about today 25 seats the BJP tom-tomming of winning 25 seats in Rajasthan or winning all the seats in Madhya Pradesh. The results will show that we will do much better than what happened in the Vidhan Sabha election.
But you got routed in Rajasthan just a couple of months back.
You see how many seats we win in Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. If you remember, Javed, in 2004, exactly the same thing happened. We were routed in all these states, but when the general elections came, the Congress formed the government. So state elections.
What are you basing this optimism on? Because, you know, as things stand, there's this Mr. Modi's campaign which is going full steam ahead, and the Congress is missing in action.
No, our things are the work that we have done in 10 years, Javed. The kind of work that has happened in the 10 years, I'm amazed that nobody talks about. Of course, in 10 years we have made mistakes also. It is human. It is human nature. We could have performed much better in certain areas. But in 10 years we have done a remarkable job. We have done the kind of social responsibility that this government has carried out. 140 million people have moved above the poverty line, which itself is a huge number. You talk about the kind of output in roads, you see it in electricity, you see it in education, you see it in health. There are a lot of parameters that the Congress and the UPA government has done in the last 10 years, which has impacted the people living in villages and in neighborhoods. Those are the people who are going to vote for the Congress party and the UPA.
You know what resonates with people is not all these figures that you're talking about, not this work that you're talking about. Your government unfortunately has become synonymous, UPA too, with corruption and price rise. The economy is at a low. These are issues which resonate with, when you talk of UPA too, these are issues which immediately come to people's mind, not what you're talking about. And somewhere, if what you're saying is true, then somewhere your government and all of you have failed in carrying this message to the people.
No, we are not, because the results will prove that we have not failed. We have not failed. Of course, corruption is an issue in this country, and we have taken steps to do away with corruption. Are you trying to say that all governments which are ruled by the BJP, there is no corruption? In Gujarat itself, we have ministers who are in scams and they still continue to be in the ministry. It is just because we've been in power for 10 years. The government, the press picks on the government.
He's been in power for more than 10 years.
But do you pick up on why are they tainted ministers in Gujarat? Do you make such a hullabaloo about corruption in Gujarat or in other states as much as you do with the Congress party? We have taken the strictest action against all the people who have been involved in corruption. If individuals in the Congress party have been corrupt, they have been dealt with. It does not mean that the Congress party itself is corrupt, which is something I think you need to differentiate, and the people of this country will differentiate when they vote.
You know, you say you take action, but one of the failures that is held against your leadership is failure to act in time when the CWG mess was happening. Failure to, again, you've denied Mr. Suresh Kalmadi a ticket years after you've had to pay the political price for it. A lot of people believe that had you taken action when this rot was setting in, perhaps you would not have faced the kind of problem that you're facing today.
So if
inability to act in time.
So BJP has acted. They have taken Yedurappa in the party who's been to jail for corruption. We don't hear about that.
Certainly
we aren't hearing it as much. We don't talk about being of that kind of corruption that is being put on the Congress party. Yedurappa has been taken into the party, He is contesting on the BJP ticket. We don't hear that how BJP promotes people who are corrupt. Suresh Kalmadi's ticket has been cut. That they are saying you've taken a very long time. You know, if you had taken this decision earlier, it wouldn't help you. Yedurappa joins the BJP, is given a ticket of the BJP. He has been to jail on corruption. You say, that's not such an issue.
The BJP is being hauled over the coals every day in and day out.
I never hear any of being hauled over being corrupt, and having corrupt ministers in their government, and the kind of corruption things there. We have had 2 presidents of the BJP who have been caught on corruption charges. Presidents of the BJP, the country has seen that. Come on, Javed, what are we talking about Congress being corrupt? It is individuals who are corrupt, and action has to be taken against them. And the Congress has taken a lead in that. We have initiated the Lokpal bill. We have taken other bills that were in progress to move the corruption, and that is our fight against corruption will continue, and we will be the leaders as far as corruption is concerned in removing corruption in this country, and we have proven it. But what we have done, unfortunately, we don't see enough of that on our channels.
You know, you're speaking with so much of confidence and so much of vigor, but somehow this is absent as far as your senior ministers. A lot of your senior leaders are shying away from contesting election. This certainly doesn't stem from some kind of confidence, because if the Congress was on such a sure footing, your senior leaders wouldn't be fighting shy of contesting elections.
No, in fact, people who are in the Rajya Sabha, our senior leaders, are come forward to contest elections. We have Ghulam Nabi Azad ji contesting elections, who's a Rajya Sabha MP. We have Ambika Soni ji, who's a Rajya Sabha MP, who's come forward to contest elections. All the people who are in the cabinet are contesting elections besides Mr. Chidambaram. So I don't know where this thing is that the Congress is shying away from contesting elections.
The whole world knows that Mr. Manish Tiwari, the INB minister, was reluctant. That there were a lot of others who were reluctant till Mrs. Gandhi issued the fiat that all senior leaders must contest.
I don't think that is Mr. Manish Tiwari did not want to contest. You know the reasons better. He gave the reasons himself. He came up with a medical thing, and if people make that into an issue, I think that is extremely unfortunate. But if you see, all our senior leaders are contesting elections, and to say that this Congress, well, in the BJP, they don't want any senior leaders to contest elections.
Like who?
And they would rather have people of the Congress contesting. We have this great slogan by the BJP saying, "इस देश को कांग्रेस मुक्त बनाना है." परंतु उनके सरकार में तो सिर्फ कांग्रेस के ही जितने रेबल्स हैं सरकार में, तो they can't get. I know they can't leave the Congress. The Congress doesn't leave them even in their dreams. So I can understand they keep talking of Congress mukt Sarkar, but they only want Congress defectors in their party.
Yes, RPN, I know that you're referring to the Jaswant Singh episode, and this is.
No, there are a lot of leaders, a lot of Congress people who have been given tickets in the BJP. So when they talk about a Congress Mukt Hindustan, well, we know what they are talking about.
You know, one other thing which strikes a lot of people is that, like you were talking of achievements, there's certain credits to your governments. Today, just recently we've heard you've managed to arrest a very senior IM operative, Vakas, a very significant member of this network. If the BJP were in your place, they would have gone to town with this. Why are you fighting shy of claiming credit where it is due?
Well, there's no credit to be claimed. We always we've always spoken about that our fight against terror is something that we will not compromise on. Our efforts in the last 10 years has shown our fight against terror has taken some significant strides forward. In fact, in the last 1 year, if you see, we have arrested big threats to this country, be it Tundla, be it Bhatkal, and be it now Vakas. So, whenever the BJP talks about the Congress being soft on terror, we have arrested many significant terrorists who would have got big harm to this country. We have hung some terrorists. We have never put terrorists in our jails onto planes and let them free. I think this is what the country knows and should know.
Is this because the reason you're not talking about it is because, the BJP says a lot of these leaders, these terrorists were out hunting for their prime ministerial candidate, and because you're worried that this might give them...
No, but the BJP is saying they were hunting for their things. I don't know where they get their information from. They were going to have terror strikes. And how would the BJP makes everything this happens in the country happens to the BJP? It is something which is unfortunate, but terror attacks is not on political persons or it is against the very country, the very idea of the country, India. And we will fight against anybody who tries to destroy or harm the idea of India.
How big a threat is this? How big a threat are we facing? In the run-up to the elections, there's a massive security arrangement that has to be put in place. Is there a genuine threat to some of our leaders?
In the elections, in these kind of elections, they are threat to political leaders, and there is a system in place where all people, according to the threat perception, are given adequate security. Be it anybody, be it from the opposition party, be it from any regional party, and the government takes it upon itself to make sure that everybody has that kind of security, so there is no kind of unfortunate incident. And I think for any political party to think that the government of India would not be doing that is extremely unfortunate. That's all I could say.
RPN, both of us come from UP, and UP, everybody believes, holds the key as to who will be Prime Minister of India. The BJP believes it's it's on a home run. The BJP believes it will get no less than 40. And if indeed that happens, then they believe Mr. Modi's dream of becoming PM will be all that. I mean, he'll be much closer to realizing that. Where is the Congress placed? You had 20 plus last time. How many are you expecting this time?
Well, I'm not an astrologer, Javed, but if you remember last time in 2009, to be very honest with you, I contested the elections, and I can tell you a lot of Congress leaders, forget the press, the media and political analysts and psephologists, didn't think that the Congress is going to get over 8 to 10 seats. And we got 22 seats, 21 to 22 seats. And I think this time around, again, we have this pessimism going that the Congress is going to be doing really badly in Uttar Pradesh. I don't share that sentiment. Well, I'm not an astrologer, but I think the Congress will be doing extremely well in Uttar Pradesh.
One last question before I let you go. Who will be the Congress party's candidate in Varanasi? Is there a rabbit you're going to pull out of your hat at the last moment?
Oh, well, that is something that the High Command will take a decision on, Javed, and I'm sure whoever the Congress candidate is will put up a great fight and try all his level best to win that seat.
Thank you very much for taking time out and speaking to us, and all the best for your election.
Thank you.